What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss the next stimulus package, the American Families Plan, daily news, pretty much everything going on here in our country and in Washington, D.C. Remember that new videos come out here on our channel every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure to subscribe down below if you haven't yet. I will keep you up to date with everything going on here. I want to wish my beautiful wife, Laurel, a happy birthday. Today is her birthday. If you don't know Laurel, she's been on the show, and she's a big part of our show here. She does all of our all of our editing here, the Wedditor, as some people call her on the channel. Yeah, she does all of our editing for every single video, and I believe she will be on in the next video as our special guest. So happy birthday to my beautiful wife, Laurel. We've been married for 10 years, and we've been together for like 17 years. So yeah, I also want to say happy birthday. We'll say happy birthday to my beautiful wife, Laurel. And I want to say happy Veterans Day and thank you to anybody that served our country, anybody that has family members or loved ones that have served in our military. Thank you so much to our veterans and happy Veterans Day. So a lot to celebrate here today. Thank you to everybody. Economist Larry Summers says that the White House misread inflation. Yeah, check this out. Larry Summers, a former top economic advisor to President Obama, said Wednesday that President Biden's White House has been, quote, behind the curve in their predictions about rising prices during the pandemic. He says, quote, I think the policymakers in Washington, unfortunately, have almost every month been behind the curve. He says on CNN, they said it was transitory. It doesn't look so transitory. They said it was due to a few specific factors, and it doesn't look to be a few specific factors. They said when September came and people went back to school that the labor force would grow, and that didn't happen either. Data released on Wednesday showed that the Consumer Price Index, which tracks inflation across goods and services, rose by 0.9% during the month of October alone, and 6.2% over the past year. Summers, who has for months warned about inflation tied to the $1.9 trillion third stimulus check package passed by Congress this spring, said he hopes the Biden administration's predictions about inflation being transitory would pan out, but urged officials to prepare for a more dire scenario. He says, quote, my experience is that you should hope for the best and plan for something much less than the best. I think that means stronger actions by the Fed. It means the administration has to be thinking about inflation. But Summers also said that the bills that Biden is ushering through Congress right now, the stimulus package, the next one, and the physical infrastructure package, would not contribute to inflation. He says, quote, the 10 years of the two spending bills together, physical infrastructure package and the next stimulus package, A, are less than the 1 year of what they did last spring, and B, unlike what they did last spring, are paid for by tax increases, Summers says. Quote, I don't think that's an inflation problem. I think a lot of it is virtually needed investments in the future of our country. Senator Ted Cruz, yeah, get this, says that Texas might secede from the United States, leave the United States, if, quote, things become hopeless in the U.S., and joked that Joe Rogan could become the state's president. Yeah. So U.S. Senator Ted Cruz says that Texas might leave the U.S. and become its own nation. Yeah, check this out. Senator Ted Cruz said that Texas could secede from the U.S. if the Democrats, quote, fundamentally destroy the country. Yeah. Cruz said that if things were to become hopeless, Texas should take NASA, the military, and its oil. Yep, can't make this stuff up. He also joked that the podcast host Joe Rogan could become the president of the new state. And Senator Ted Cruz said that Texas could secede from the US if the Democrats, quote, fundamentally destroy the country. Senator Ted Cruz was speaking at an event at the Texas A&M in October when an audience member asked him about his views on secession. Cruz said that he wasn't there quite yet when it came to the question on whether Texas should secede from the nation, but understood the sentiment behind the question. He says, quote, I think Texas has a responsibility to the country, and I'm not ready to give up on America yet. Quote, I love this country. After going on to further praise Texas, he added, quote, if the Democrats end the filibuster, if they fundamentally destroy the country, if they pack the Supreme Court, if they make D.C. a state, if they federalize elections and massively expand voter fraud, there may come a point where it's hopeless. Quote, we're not there yet, and if there comes a point where it's hopeless, then I think we take NASA, we take the military, and we take the oil, quote, he continued, prompting applause. There is a so-called Texit and exit movement seeking to make Texas an independent nation. The website of Texas National Movement said the mission is to secure political, cultural, and economic independence of the nation of Texas. And the movement has 420,000 supporters. Yeah, so let me know your thoughts on Senator Ted Cruz's comments of Texas leaving the United States. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Here is Democratic Representative Pramila Jayapal speaking on the next stimulus package and the physical infrastructure package.
So what the heck took so long?
Well, look, I think the really important thing here is we have said for months that we needed to not leave anybody behind. And there was a push to get the infrastructure bill done without the Build Back Better Act. And so I, as the chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, held the line and said, look, these two bills have to go together. We will vote for the infrastructure bill, but we also need to have the Build Back Better bill.
Can the United States actually afford these bills?
Well, the incredible thing about the Build Back Better Act is this is the bill that's fiscally responsible. And when you do that, you are bringing more income to families, more income to communities.
I know you were asked specifically by Anderson Cooper about the timing of all of this, that the vote came after Election Day, and that potentially this inertia caused Virginia to go to the Republicans in that gubernatorial race. That the question is, do you share at all in the responsibility of what happened in Virginia?
No. I mean, you can't say that a race that's flipped by 12 points, 12 points, Chris, we're not talking about a point or two, we're talking about 12 points, that was due to not passing one bill in Congress.
One of the ways that Democrats are considering paying for this package is by raising taxes on millionaires and billionaires. There's actually a proposed billionaire tax and a capital gains tax that's very controversial to tax billionaires on their stock gains that are unrealized, meaning they would tax them on the billionaires on their tax gains before they're even sold. And this has been very controversial because you would be taxing them on their stock gains before they've sold them. And a lot of people caution them on this because stocks go up and down and investments go up and down on a daily basis. And a lot of people think that this could be bad because this could trickle down to average everyday Americans down the road. Well, Elon Musk has been a very vast proponent of this. He's the world's richest man. And a lot of people criticize people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos because they make billions and billions and billions of dollars in stock gains, but they never really sell any because they already have billions of dollars and they don't really need the money. Well, Elon Musk made a poll a few days ago on his Twitter account, which says, much is made lately of unrealized gains being a means of tax avoidance. So I propose selling 10% of my Tesla stock, which would be tens of billions of dollars. Do you support this? 57.9% of his followers said yes. 42% said no. He said, "I will abide by the rules of this poll, whichever way it goes." He says, "Note, I do not take a cash salary or a bonus from anywhere. I only have stock. Thus, the only way for me to pay taxes personally is to sell the stock." This was a few days ago on November 6th. So he was basically polling his Twitter audience. And if they voted yes, that he would literally sell billions of dollars in Tesla stock. And well, he actually started doing this yesterday. He sold already over $5 billion in Tesla stock just yesterday. And you could see from this headline, and he probably isn't done. So, and a lot of this is maybe in relation to the billionaires tax that they wanted to tax him and billionaires on to pay for this stimulus package, because there's been a lot of controversy. They want to tax billionaires because they don't sell any stock. So now he's sold some stock and will actually pay some taxes on it. And he's probably going to sell more, but he sold $5 billion of stock in just one day, maybe even some more. Wouldn't that be nice? Imagine $5 billion in stock. Elon Musk has also been in the news recently that he might potentially pay $6 billion and potentially solve the World Hunger Fund. He's been in the news lately that they think that, and he's going back and forth with a United Nations World Hunger official that said that to Elon Musk that he could cure the World Hunger Fund with only $6 billion. And Elon Musk said, if that's actually true, I would sell $6 billion of Tesla and literally give it to you. So we'll have to see if that happens, because $6 billion, he's worth over, well, it's about 250 to $300 billion. So we'll have to see what happens here. I'll keep you updated. The stimulus package scorekeeper, the Congressional Budget Office, is starting to release parts of estimates of the Congressional Budget Office report. So we're not sure exactly how this is going to work as they start to release this. I have a feeling that this is going to be, we're going to get estimates and we're also going to get exact amounts as well. So they're releasing this piecemeal, which means that they're releasing data as they kind of come out with it. So as they come out with the Congressional Budget Office report, they're just giving it to us as it comes out. So it's not going to be just one big shot where everything comes out all in one piece. So the Congressional Budget Office report is now starting to come out here on the 11th. The Democrats have a agreement with the moderate Democrats in the House of Representatives, and the agreement says something along the lines of that they will vote in the House of Representatives by the 15th, if November 15th, if the Congressional Budget Office report comes back and says that everything it's supposed to say, that the bill is paid for and it's everything as expected. Now, whether or not that's going to hold up and be true, we're going to have to see here. There's also a lot of Democrats that think that if the whole Congressional Budget Office report doesn't even come back and is not fully back by then, which may or may not be the case, that it really won't matter. They'll still be able to pass it in the House of Representatives and then send it on to the Senate. So it's really going to be very interesting to see what happens here and what actually happens with the vote here. And when it passes the House, then it's going to go on to the Senate, which is also going to be very interesting because when Joe Manchin gets his hands on the bill, well, that's going to be a different story because he's going to literally do something like that. And a lot of progressive Democrats and a lot of people are not very happy with that. And that's why Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema have been kind of the spotlight of a lot of controversial protests, kayak activists, yacht activists, parking lot activists, bathroom activists. And as you've been seeing here on the show, that they have literally been cornered and protested in parking lots, in yachts, in bathrooms and in parking lots. Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema are getting protested anywhere they can be found. Can't make this stuff up. And they're literally pretty much the only two Democrats. There's some Democrats in the House, some moderate Democrats in the House, but they seem to be a fraction, a little literal fraction, little or literal, either one of those words will work. A literal or little fraction of what Joe Manchin is. Joe Manchin seems to just be in a whole nother league of contention here when it comes to this stimulus package. Now, it is interesting to note here that he did the same thing with the third stimulus check package, the American Rescue Plan. This one is the American Families Plan. The $1,300, $1,400 stimulus check that was passed at the end of March and went out in April. And but he did the same type of thing, and so did Kristen Sinema a little bit. But she seems to be again a small amount of what Joe Manchin is. But ultimately, Joe Manchin voted yes, and so did Kirsten Sinema. So the question is that when it comes time for the Senate to vote yes on this, is Joe Manchin going to fall in line with the Democratic Party? And it's interesting to note here. I mentioned in the past, and I think it was the last video, how Joe Manchin is getting millions of dollars in donations to his political campaign from Republicans. And I'm not from either side, but it's just interesting to note that a Democratic senator is getting millions of dollars in donations from a Republican or from Republicans. That's not normal. If you're a Republican, you get donations from Republicans, and generally Democrats hate you. If you're a Democrat, generally Republicans hate you, and vice versa. I mean, not generally. I mean, you get where I'm going here. I mean, not generally hate, but for the most part, the other party doesn't like you, and vice versa. I mean, sometimes you get a little bit of crossover, but for the most part, if you're a Democrat, the other party doesn't normally donate millions of dollars to you, right? The other party just generally doesn't like you for the most part. I mean, you get a little bit of crossover, right? Sometimes you get, and especially with presidential elections, you'll get a little bit of crossover. If you're a Democrat, you might get some Republicans to vote for you. If you're a Republican, you might get some Democrats to vote for you. But it's not normal to be a Democrat and have Republicans just showering you with millions of dollars in donations for your political campaign. It's definitely not the norm. And that is what both Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema are having happening right now. And it's largely because of their political views, because they're delaying the stimulus package. And it kind of makes you wonder, is it intentional? Is it just because of their views? And that's why I think President Biden has just kind of come to the realization, let's pass what we can now. This package that is now somewhere between, well, it started off at, well, came down to 1.75 trillion, has now apparently ballooned up to, well, Pramila Jayapal said just a few days ago, 2.1. Now it's apparently up to about 2.4 with the addition of the SALT tax, the state and local tax deduction. It's actually as high as $2.4 trillion now. Things are literally changing here by the day. By the time the House of Representatives actually passes the bill and we actually see a bill, who knows what's going to be in this bill? And honestly, they may have to reduce it back down to make sure it's fully paid for. Because again, I don't think they're going to pass a bill in the House if it's not fully paid for. I think there's going to be several Democrats that are going to demand that it's fully paid for with the Congressional Budget Office report or estimates. So if the estimates or the full report or whatever they have says that it's not fully paid for, or say 2.2 trillion is paid for, I think they're going to probably have to lower the cost of it down to 2.2 trillion. I also think that if they pass 2.2 trillion, for example, in the House, it's going to be significantly changed in the Senate. Okay, I think Joe Manchin has said something recently here. I don't have the quote or anything in front of me. He basically said something like, the House should just pass it now because when the Senate gets it, it's going to be a completely different bill. So keep that in mind. And that's why I really recommend you get on the phone, get on the email, get on Twitter, tweet Bernie Sanders, tweet Joe Manchin even, and let them know what you want to be in this package. Even if you think that you might be falling on deaf ears, but Joe Manchin, believe it or not, it actually matters, okay? Because Joe Manchin, when they negotiated with him in the third stimulus check package, okay, um, he actually, let me think about this. When they lowered the income threshold for the third stimulus check, he was part of this negotiation. They lowered it from 100,000 to 80,000. He didn't think that people making $100,000 should get a third stimulus check, but he did think that stimulus checks should go out for people making up to $80,000. So he was in favor of the third stimulus check. But he also, as part of the negotiations, he's actually kind of credited with this, actually sent out an extra check as the $10,200 unemployment tax refund. Okay. That literally happened during the voting process. It went down as the record for the longest vote ever on the Senate floor. Okay. They took him out of the voting process in the middle of the vote and had to negotiate with him because he wasn't ready to vote for it. Okay. So, one, he was for the third stimulus check, but not for people making $100,000 a year. You may or may not agree with that. A lot of people agree with that. Okay, but in during the course of negotiations, they literally will negotiate at the last moment here. That's what they did in the House and what they did in the Senate. So kind of tweeting him, tweeting Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and Chuck Schumer, people in the Senate, when they go to those last minute negotiations, right? And they're going to do this last minute negotiation in the Senate. This is going to be removed. That's going to be added. This is going to be removed. That's going to be added. That's where they can really say, okay, we're going to remove this, but we're going to add this. That's where stimulus checks for adults and who knows what else. That's where you want to have those ideas in those senators' minds saying, you know what, people are really struggling right now. Stimulus checks for low and middle income adults are really needed right now. Put those ideas in their heads. Tweet Senator Joe Manchin, email them, call them. Bernie Sanders, of course, he's been the largest advocate for everybody. Joe Manchin also said something recently here that he believed in strengthening the programs for Social Security, SSI, and SSDI and making them stronger going forward so that they aren't insolvent in the future. So, in a way, and he also said that about Medicare as well. He wants to make sure that they're stronger in the future and that they don't run out of money and that they don't basically go insolvent. So, in a way, it's kind of weird. You have to like on one end, he's kind of like he's kind of like fiscally responsible, if that kind of makes sense. And if you know Joe Manchin, you'll kind of understand that that does make sense. He's fiscally responsible. But on the other hand, if you kind of listen to him, he actually wants to take care of people who are like low income. Okay. And if you look at like the income requirements he wanted to put on like the child tax credits, he wanted to provide to people making under $60,000. So keep that in mind. So yeah, like I said, email, call, and tweet your representatives, including Joe Manchin, because as much as it seems like he doesn't want to do anything, in a way he actually does. He just wants to be fiscally responsible about it. And you want to have these ideas in their head: Bernie Sanders, Joe Manchin, Kirsten Sinema, Chuck Schumer, Elizabeth Warren, the senators, because when it goes over to the Senate, they're going to do some last minute negotiations and getting your guys' thoughts and your voice out there. Let them know they're your elected officials. So that's what I recommend. Get your voice out there. They're your elected officials. So I will keep you up to date here. Make sure to subscribe down below. New videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Subscribing is completely free to do so. Happy Veterans Day. Happy birthday to my beautiful wife, Laurel. I think she'll be on in the next video as a special guest appearance. We're going to go out to a special birthday dinner later this evening as well. So thanks for watching. You can click here to watch my newest stimulus video next. And this video is about how there's 9 different stimulus checks going out to different groups of people. Definitely click one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.